James, the King James English is, it's just too hard. There's so much of it that's not translatable. The these and the thous and some of the words, the archaic words that we don't use anymore and stuff of that nature. It's just too hard to translate it into the Spanish and the Burmese and so forth. So we just need a better English translation so we can better translate the Bible into a foreign language. And there was a great controversy come up to the place that it actually split fellowships, missions endeavors, and some of the people left the Baptist ranks altogether over the King James. But some of them old rascals said, you know what? We don't need a better English translation. We just need to go back to some of the old manuscripts of the Hebrew and the Greek and translate it out of that and leave the King James alone. You see, King James is God's infallible, inerrant word of God, that preserved word of God to the English-speaking people. Yes. God gave it to us. And some of these old rascals said, you know, God gave it to us. We need to leave it alone. Right. But some of them didn't listen. And so that controversy kind of fell by the wayside in the 1800s and rose again in the 50s and then again in the 80s. And nowadays, you go into most churches, and very few churches around anymore, in comparison to all the different churches, very few churches are using the King James. You know why? Because everybody that was in the colleges, you ready for this? And I'm not just talking Baptist now, I'm talking about all the religious colleges. It came to the contention, the idea that you just weren't scholarly if you stayed with the King James. You just didn't have the scholastic abilities if that's what you believed. And so they took the Word of God and they began to use the Good News for Modern Man, this translation and that translation. And in a lot of churches today, you sit down and there's probably 4 or 5 different translations in that congregation, and none of them read the same. I was always told that Jesus Christ was the same yesterday, today, and forever. And He is the eternal Logos of God. He is the eternal Word of God. And He don't change. So how is it that when you're reading what people call the Holy Bible, and one doesn't read like the other, which one's right? Yes. And how do you know you got the right one? Right. I've been asked that question. Well, preacher, how do you know you got the right translation? Oh, I don't know. Just by half a chance, I will tell you this without getting back into the manuscripts that it was translated from. That God gave the Old Testament in Hebrew, which was a dead language. It just did not change. It's exactly the same today as it was when God gave it to them in the Old Testament. And then He gave them the New Testament in the Greek, which is a dead language. It's exactly the same today as it was when it was used, when they penned the Bible in the New Testament times. And God gave us the King James in the King's English. You ready for this? Which is a dead language. The King's English has not changed. American English has changed. And if you don't believe that, you go someplace up north and start talking about chunking rocks. And they go, what? What do you mean? What's chunking rock? What's a rock? What's a chunk? Chunking rocks is when you pick it up and you throw it. That's chunking. He said, no, that's throwing. No, that's chunking. Where I come from. And you know, telling somebody, you know, my mother, when I was young, used to carry us to the store. And they go, you couldn't walk? Yeah. Well, Mama carried me. Well, why did she carry you if you could walk? No, carried me. She took me to the store. See that the American English changes.
Yes.
How many of you remember back what fly was?
Oh, yes.
That little brown thing, that little black thing flies around the house, you get a swatter and kill. Man, that's a fly. No, fly meant that you was cool.
Yeah.
Cool? What's cool mean? See the kids thinking, what's cool, preacher? Cool means that you had it going on. Go a little further back, it was a catch me out.
Yeah.
Amen. Then it was cool. Then it was fly. Then it was something else. And then it was something else. The American English changes according to the generation that's using it.
Yes.
This Bible don't change.
Amen. That's right.
And they can change all the words they want to. They can add to it, take it away from it. And all I got to tell them is they better read the back of the book. But we have done more damage to the foundation in God's house by messing with the things that God set down than one can imagine. David said, listen, he said, when the foundations are destroyed, when those things that God has put in place, those things that God said, I'm going to build upon this. He said, when those begin to be destroyed, he said, what can the righteous do? When our government is corrupted and they're making laws that go against everything we believe, what can we as God's people do? When they stand up and they tell lies and use those lies against you, what can the righteous do? He said, when the foundations are destroyed, what can we as God's people do? Let me give you a remedy. Number one, trust God. He said, you know what? God can handle all those people that's destroying the foundations. He said he's going to, he hates that. And his wrath is going to abide upon them. He's going to judge them for what they're doing. And he said, but God understands and loves righteousness. Listen to what the last verse says. He says, for the righteous Lord loveth righteousness, his countenance doth behold the upright. He said, listen, God knows where you're at. Stand up and stand strong for the glory of God. Don't let the destroying foundation disturb you. God's still in control. Amen. We need to get back to using the old-fashioned altars. We need to get back to having some prayer time. We need to get back to having some Bible studies. We need to get back to having some personal prayer time and personal Bible reading and just get back to just doing what we can to stand on the foundation that God laid, not the crumbling foundations of the world. So my problem, my challenge to you today is, what are you willing to do to keep your foundation strong? Stand with me, please. Heads bowed, eyes closed, and open the book out.